Well, welcome back to Puck Watching, ladies and gentlemen. We're happy to have you back. A little Christmas Eve episode for the boys today. Blues have a big break coming up, so we wanted to just get this out here into the open before anything went wrong the rest of this couple weeks for Blues.
Looks like we're having some technical difficulties here. We're going to give Luke one more second here to try to figure out what's going on.
Can't hear me? I can see you.
All right, we lost him. Puck Watching. It is Christmas Eve. What an exciting time all over the world, but we're excited here in St. Louis. Luke's back home from Boston. I am in St. Louis as I always am, and we're going to have a special one for you guys, very much in theme for the Christmas season, obviously Christmas Day being tomorrow. So we're very excited. Not that excited for what's happening with the Blues the last, 10 or so games. All right, we got Luke. There he is.
Hey, guys.
I can hear you. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I introed, so we're good to go. So, we can hop right into it, Luke, if you want, on the theme. I introed the theme a little bit just on the Christmas stuff, but why don't you get us started with our first little segment?
Well, I don't really know what was going on there, so I'm sorry. But, the naughty or nice list, Nick, this is a big one for the Blues right now, because to me, there's a lot of guys that are probably going to be on my naughty list if I was Santa Claus right now. I would say that, in the judgment of it, it's like, okay, the nice list is who's some of your best guys performance-wise, and then the naughty list is the opposite. And your Logan Mayhews of the world, which, spoiler alert, he would be on mine. But let's start off with the nice list, Nick. I'm going to start off with mine. And because, again, by the way, there's a lot of Blues games to recap, so we're not going to recap every single game, but we're going to be referencing throughout and the updated stats. But my nice list so far is the top of the list, my saint, Justin Faulk. Yeah, that's my guy. I mean, you just look at what he's done over the last couple seasons, and then now 6 goals combined the last 2 seasons from him, from the 23-24, 24-25, and now he has 10 goals in just not even the halfway point or they made the halfway point of the season, basically. Absolutely crazy from the guy, and has to be on my nice list this year, Nick.
Okay, so I go nice now.
Yeah, you go another nice list, or you could disagree, but I don't think anybody would disagree with Justin.
No, I mean, he's had a very good year so far. It's been his best year as a Blue in years.
Now, before you go any further, though, let's be honest. Who would have thought that he would have been on our nice list when we were talking about this in the offseason? I think nobody.
I mean, who would have thought he was the leading goal scorer for the Blues through 38 games? He's tied with Neighbors, right? So
yeah,
I didn't see that coming, and he's been very effective offensively. He's had a pretty decent defensive outing as well so far. So yeah. I don't know how anyone could really disagree with that one.
No. But okay, go ahead and your next one.
This is a tough one. I don't think a lot of Blues have been nice this year. So I'm probably going to go Pius Suter.
Ooh.
I think he's been extremely consistent. The Blues are certainly better when Suter is in the lineup. He has 7 goals and 7 assists, 14 points in 36 games. So he was hurt, I think, 2 games. Averages about 16 minutes and 30 seconds on ice. I think he's just a really, really solid pickup. I've said that from the beginning, but I think he's been exactly what the Blues needed him to be this year. But the problem is no one else has been consistent and carried over from last year. So I think he's been a very good, consistent player for the Blues.
He has. I think though over the last 5 games since we've talked, I haven't seen much of him. But at the same time, though, the results speak for themselves with what we were expecting. It was like, all right, this guy's a third line center, maybe second line center, and just providing a very different look compared to a guy like Braden Shen or Oscar Sundquist. And he showed up. I'm totally with that. I don't think he's going to get to the 25 goal mark at this point with 7-7. You would love like 40 points from him, but you have a long way to go until then. So I think for now he's definitely on my nice list too, Nick. I would say, but totally agree with that. I'd also say on my nice list as well, you got to go with a guy like Robert Thomas, I think. And the guy's our leading point scorer. And I feel like no matter how we draw this up, this list, that Robert Thomas is probably going to make it on any day of the week. But you also, it's going to be your leading point scorer every time. So got to give it to Robert Thomas. Now, I will say, and we've had a lot of different discussions about this, I think, off the record, that he still doesn't look always that engaged in these games. There are times where he looks a little lackluster out there, but he also doesn't have a great team around him at this stage of the game. And I think the better the team is, the more his game sort of elevates. I feel like when they started to catch fire last year, Thomas elevated. So I would say that barring a Blues sort of resurgence, I would say that he's probably on that similar level at that. He's still the leading point scorer, but not going to wow you out there, which I think that's what he is probably qualified for, I'd say.
I mean, I don't think you can put him actually in the nice category. I'd say lean nice,
Lean.
rather than like lean Cole or naughty. But we've talked about this many a time, but Rob needs to be a point per game player for the Blues to be really good. And he's not right now. He has 27 points through 34 games played. He's been trending better. So he could, get there. It would take some multi-goal or multi-assist or a mixture of the two games. But his face-off percentage has been good. His time on ice is slightly lower than the last few years, but I'm not sure what necessarily that has to do with. But I think he's getting better. Lean's nice. So I'll agree with you there.
Okay, lean nice.
I'm gonna say my next nice Blues player is probably Jake Neighbors. I don't think you would have said he's only played in 26 games, more than Justin Faulk, or excuse me, less than Justin Faulk, and has scored 10 goals, and he has the Blues team high total in goals. Didn't really see that coming. He's played in 12 less games than most Blues forwards, or close to that, and he has the most goals. So he kind of comes in waves. They don't have a problem with it. Has 7 assists on the year, 17 points, and a -7 overall on the ice. I think that can be a deceiving stat sometimes. I think he's been extremely effective the games he's been able to play. So the Blues would be struggling without Jake Neighbors, and they were struggling without him when he was hurt.
Yeah. I mean, over the last 5, he's got 3 points, but 2 goals coming in that Florida game, which he was probably him and Berggren were those guys in that Panthers game that completely wowed us, I think, when we were watching it. But that's a separate discussion after the naughty or nice list. But I think I would agree with that. I think I just would lean nice just because of the injury that forced him out for such a long time. It burdened his team for sure. Obviously not his fault, but losing him for the amount of games that we did was so bad for this team, and they declined because of it. And so it's not just a guy like Jordan Kyrou or Robert Thomas when they get injured that causes this team to really go by the wayside. It's even a depth guy like Neighbors, who is your, I guess, leading scorer. So he's really not your adept guy, I would say. But that's what I'd say is really in any other hockey team. That's not the St. Louis Blues right now. But I think I can agree with that, Nick. I will say, though, that's probably the end of the nice list. Would
Yeah.
you maybe one more, maybe Matthew Joseph,
Yeah.
and just because of this, just the spark and the energy that he provides to this team, I think he shows in day out and gets the job done. And obviously, there's not a lot of pressure on him. He's a fourth line guy that just tries to generate a little bit more energy with Sundqvist and Torps when they're all healthy. And I think he does a really good job at that. I don't think again, he's not going to wow you out there, but he is going to do his job pretty much night in, night out. So he's probably my last guy, I'd say. Anybody else you'd add?
I would say Lee Nice, and I love this dude. Maybe one of my favorite players on the Blues, but Philip Broberg.
Oh,
Uh, I think he's been a little bit down the last few games, but there are moments where he can legitimately outskate forwards.
yeah.
That's how fast he is and how well he can move his skates. And he's big body, generally pretty good defensively. I think he probably would have liked to score a few more goals in there, but he has 2 goals, 10 assists. I think he's going to have some type of streak here where he'll score a few goals, more assists, especially when the Blues get a few more guys back in the next week or so, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I think he'll keep improving. I don't think you can make a case that he's been naughty. And if you did, I'd be like, well, is there anyone on defense that's been good besides Faulk then? So I think he's been good. I've always been impressed with him, and hopefully he'll be a Blue for a long time.
Yeah, no, I think we can say that too. I just wish that we could get a little bit more goals out of him at this point. He's doing
It's the
what
same problem with Parayko.
it no, it is, but he's
problem.
beyond my naughty list. So we'll get to that. But I think, bottom of the barrel naughty list, Nick. And we'll work our way up, I'd say. But I think bottom of the barrel probably has to either be Logan Mayu or Pavel Buchnevich. I feel like that's the only ones that we can give that.
I would throw Bennington also in that. In
Recently, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, even before in the beginning of the season, he was horrible. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think he's made a good case. I don't think people realize this, and not to go on a little tangent. He is statistically one of the top. He's top 4 worst goalie in the NHL. And I know Blues fans watch the games, and they, would maybe say that some of these goals aren't on Bennington, and maybe that would count against him in the statistical categories. But hey, he couldn't have saved it, blah, blah, blah. Some of that is true, but there's a very large sample size that we can work with here. And I've seen enough goals that he's let in that he shouldn't have let in to where it does make sense why he's at the bottom of the pack.
Oh,
so I would put him firmly in the naughty list. I would not put Hofer in there. But I don't think Hofer's he hasn't been a top 15 goalie either. So Benner in the naughty list, though.
I think I would agree. I was going to save him a little bit further up, but I understand your point. But at the same time, it's just there's too many flaws in this team to where you can blame it all on him to be bottom of the barrel like that. But at the same time, it's not good at all. I mean, negative 9.7 goals saved above expected, which is last in the entire league. It's last of 84 different NHL goalies. That is atrocious. And I did not think that this was going to happen this year with him. Since the way he finished off the season last year with 4 nations, the win streak, and then the playoffs, how he performed, just was not going to expect something like this. But here we are. And I thought but then there's always like shades of greatness from him. They're just never consistent. And I think that's always been his trouble, is consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And he never gets to that level. But yeah, and then when you look further up the list, though, you got a guy like Joel Hofer, who has steadily been improving. And right now, and I said it last week, Nick, when we recorded on that Saturday, I was like, hey, Hofer is probably going to be the starter kind of moving forward here, just from the way that the performances have had from the Blues. When Hofer is playing, you just are getting better chances to win these hockey games. And Joel Hofer, compared to Jordan Bennington, 47 in these goals saved above expected, 2.1 compared to negative 9.7. That is a significant jump. We're talking about 11 goals that are separating these two. And again, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it is statistically. I mean, there's a lot of goalies in between Hofer and Bennington on this list. And I
Yeah.
mean, 870 save percentage right now from him. So, and like a 3.5 goals against. That is really, really bad. Really
Hofer
bad.
has really dug himself out of the hole
He has.
that he dug himself in earlier. He had a worse goal save above expected and save percentage than Bennington much earlier in the year.
Right.
And he's had a couple and more than a couple really, really good showings. So
Yep.
Bennington's kind of caught in this lull. He hasn't really had a game where he's really, really bailed the Blues out. And Hofer's had at least two that I can recall where they're winning 1-0 or 2-1, something like that.
Yeah.
So Bennington's still got some work to do.
Yeah, I would. The only reason why I'd put Joel Hofer on the naughty list here, and I think I'm going to, is because of the start to the season that he had. It's hard to make up for what you did in October and in the early parts of November. The guy just did not find his stride for those first 6 weeks. Eventually, he's starting to find it. Don't get me wrong, but there is a absolute point to be made that Joel Hofer was a slight reason that this team started off as bad as they did. It's not just him, obviously not. The team around him has not performed either. But those 8-goal or those, I don't even know how many that he let up in some of these games. Well, these 8-2 losses, 7-4 losses, just these big time L's that cost that team so much early is why he'd be on my naughty list. But I think he's more lean naughty than naughty, I would say, at this point. All right, next up for naughty.
So you said Mayu.
Yeah.
And then you said Buchnevich and Bennington I would put in that category, and Hofer leans that way.
Yeah.
I mean, those are obviously the low-hanging fruit of the worst people so far on the Blues. I mean, it's always easy to put Shen up there as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you pay the guy, $6.5 million a year. He doesn't really produce that much. I mean, he's a third line. At least he's a third line type of center right now. It's not exactly, the problem where he's playing on the second line. He can play on the second line, and he has this season, but it's not very consistent. So he has 6 goals, 8 assists, 14 points, played in all 38 games, and he's a -17 on the ice. So it's funny too, because I looked up Rob's time on ice, average so far this year through 34 of his games, and Shen's played 38. Shen averages more time on the ice than Rob does.
Yeah.
So actually, no, I misread that. I'm sorry. No, never mind. Rob has more. I had the wrong figure. But I just don't think Shen's that impressive a player. He does have a couple games. Like, what was that game? Was it Montreal? Or I forget who they played, but he had 2 goals, I think, or a multi-point game. And he looked really good doing it, and he's due for a couple of those in the year, but it just doesn't happen very consistently anymore. And I think he's one of those players that he's on the tail end of his career, and you're really excited to see him, have a good game here and there, but doesn't necessarily belong in the position that he is in right now.
I mean, you're right. It was the Montreal game. He had 2 goals and an assist on December 7th on that back-to-back when the Blues won the Ottawa and Montreal, both in St. Louis, or both away, excuse me. But ever since then, he only has 1 point. Since December 7th. And it was in that Florida game where it felt like everybody got on the board. So I wasn't too impressed with that at all. But yeah, and the issue is now I don't think when we were doing all these pregame or preseason stuff that we said that Braden Shen was going to be a big contributor on the team. I don't think anybody really thought that. And I think if you did, then you were definitely wrong to think that. But it's the drop-off, though, that gets more and more glaring every single time that there's a game played. It's just he just is not the guy who he used to be, number one, but it's just his effectiveness of the players that he's playing with, very different from last year when he was playing with Holloway and Kyrou, when those guys really started to take form. That line was the best line for the Blues last year. And now he's not playing with those guys, number one, because half of them both of them are injured, number one. So there's really no any chance to do it. But even then, like I wouldn't trust Shen to be playing with Kyrie and Holloway. It's not going to give you the best chance to win. So that's definitely an easy naughty list to add, Nick. I agree. Go ahead.
No, it's easy. It's just one of those ones you could say the last like probably 3 years that he could be on the naughty list come Christmas time and thereafter. There's a ton of, I mean, you look at the full roster, there's really not that many people that I would say deserve any type of nice rating. I mean, even a guy like Dvorsky, I saw a graphic of him on his projected wins above replacement and what it is on offense and defense, and he doesn't statistically have a very good season performance thus far. He's got a ton to improve on. I know he's young, but it's not like he's not getting a bunch of reps. He's getting plenty of them. And I would also say someone like Snuggerud, he got very hot and very cold since when he was healthy. And I know now he's injured. So, you got to get a lot more consistency out of him. It's not that, he deserves to be, crucified for his performance so far, but he's just not doing enough. And I would say the same thing about Rob. There are a ton of people that, maybe next Christmas is their marker for improving their chances at being nice, because it's not this one so far. Well, I guess the back half of last year counts. So yeah, some of these people probably deserve to be on the nice list if we're going to group both of those together and combine them and average them. But as if it's just this year, then not many.
So I think our top three on the naughty list is probably Buchnevich, Mayu, and either Shen or like maybe a guy like Tucker or something.
I would put Bennington still in that top
I'm sorry, Bennington,
yeah.
The top four, we'll say. Bennington and then a guy like Tucker or I wouldn't put Parayko that far down. And the one reason why that is, Nick, second in the NHL in blocks for him, 89 right now. He's trailing only one guy from the Maple Leafs, Jake McCabe, who's a great defenseman. And I think that when the Blues say, okay, we need a guy out there who's going to be our shutdown guy, he hasn't been great at that, to say the least. But he's putting his body on the line, and he's saying that I kind of care about this. And a lot of the times, it doesn't seem like the Blues care. And Montgomery says this a bunch, by the way. He always talks about effort, the effort level. It's not there. And I definitely see it. I think a lot of the time it's a cop-out from what he's saying, but compared, because he say effort versus what's the skill level on the ice and the performance. And both are very much subpar. So I'm totally with Parayko being higher up on the 9 list, but not quite. I would say, though, that he deserves a couple presents. I would say. I don't think he deserves a lump of coal. I think,
Yeah. I would say Fowler's one of those guys, too, that doesn't really deserve much this Christmas. I think it's a part of his problem, I think, is being paired with Mayu.
Yeah.
That can definitely bring the game down. But again, like, I don't really think Cam has played that well this year, even when he wasn't on the same pairing as Mayu, because they flip-flopped it for a long time until they kind of sat on this one. And they've had moments where they look better, but he's only got, 2 goals? Yeah, or 1 goal and 12 assists and 13 points, and he's minus 14. He's dropped off. I mean, it's safe to say, like last year on the Blues through 51 games, and the Blues have played 38 games so far.
Right.
And Cam has played in all of them. But through 51 as a Blue last year, he had 9 goals, 27 assists, and a plus 19. So he has completely gone the other way on the stats level. So he's really got to regain some confidence and some composure and start contributing more offensively. I know the Blues were hot as hot can be when he joined, or at least a little shortly after he joined, and they're not right now. But he's got to find his game too, and you can't just blame Logan Mailloux for Fowler having that significant of a drop off statistically.
No, I'm with you, but I am very nervous about his statistical dropout. I mean, or drop off. You look at a goal and then 12 assists, as you said, and he had 9 and 27 last year. But and then even the year before that, before he was with the Ducks for his whole career, even 23-24, when he didn't really have a great year, he still had 5 goals and 34 assists. He's right now not close to that at all. So
And he's signed for another 3 years.
yeah, and for a good
So
number.
that whole contract situation, I was curious of the thing to begin with, despite his year last year. I mean, I'm not sure a lot of teams will want to eat up $6 million for an aging defenseman that isn't playing well and producing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I know the cap's rising, but I'm not sure if that's a deal anymore. If this is the Cam Fowler we're going to get.
Yeah, not at all. I think let's turn though to the coaching staff and the management here. Jim Montgomery. This is a really tough one because you can't blame all of this on him, but you can put a little bit of blame on it for sure. So obviously you got to go towards more the naughty list here. But at the same time, I will say that the reason why he's not naughty, he's just a lean naughty, is because of the fact that when this team is clicking, I think we saw it in that Panthers game for probably the first time this season, that the system that they had in order to win against the reigning Stanley Cup champions who were on like a pretty big win streak. I think it was 4 or 5, maybe 6. I don't remember. But they were on a big win streak, and you brought that team to the ground in Florida. And so the system worked there. Maybe it was a fluke. I don't know. But there are times when this Montgomery coaching system that he has this team working with does work. So I would put him more towards lean naughty, I think, at the end of the day here.
That Florida game was the best game they played maybe all year.
Definitely.
I mean, it was the first game they'd won by more than 1 goal in a month and a half.
Yeah, right.
So, and that in and of itself is just an insane thing to say out loud. But on the Montgomery front, if everyone and their mother was boasting about how Jim Montgomery is a great coach, brought the Blues back from being a horrible team, bottom of the standings, to clinching that second wild card, bringing the Jets to their knees, and then ended up blowing it in 7. That's a great coaching performance. If we're going to give him those accolades and such and all the credit when things go really well, are you not supposed to do that when things go really badly? That's kind of confusing. So they've had moments where they legitimately look so bad, so bad. Like you point to a couple of examples, like earlier in the year on the penalty kill. Like I honestly would say, and they still have those moments, but it's not as bad as it was. That was legitimately one of the most embarrassing things to see on the ice for one of your hometown teams, to just say, oh my gosh, what a glaring hole. How does this happen? It has to go back to coaching to an extent, right? So that's a problem. And goaltending, there's only so much that Montgomery's going to be able to do about goaltending. But as far as like development of Logan Mailloux, that hasn't been great so far. I know that's a learning thing, and he's going to have to, learn a lot on his own and develop his own game. And there's only so much Montgomery can do. But, scratching and clawing, you got to give him credit for, trying to make sure there's still energy in the locker room. He's not afraid to call players out. He had that benching of Kyrou. Like, he flip-flops lines all the time. It's not really for a lack of trying, but he's got a lot of work to do. And I'm not worried about Jim Montgomery's job whatsoever, but he has to shoulder some of this blame. Like, you can't just blame it on the players. It's never the way this works at all in any sport.
Mm-mm. No, that's true. I will say, and again, to his probably negative side here, remember how we talked about how this team was so good with even strength zone time percentage? They were always like in the fifth top 5 at least for this. They have now exited the top 10 there. And then also with that, 5-on-5 shot attempts. Look at how far they are down the list. 29th in the league, 52.6. And by the way, a team like the Dallas, by the way, is below us. So I don't really know how that makes a lot of sense. But this team doesn't shoot a lot. So they're pretty good in allowing shots. They don't allow a ton of shots every game either, but they also don't shoot. Like, you can probably count on 2 hands the amount of times that they have shot over 30. this season, I think. And it's really not a lot.
That's also kind of a talent thing. I mean, you have to be a good team to generate shots. Like, you're not just going to keep firing from, half ice and just say, "Oh, I got a shot on goal." Like, you have to be able to move the puck around. And I remember when we were talking about their top 10 in zone time, that didn't matter. It's not like they were generating a lot of shots because they had a lot of zone time. Now it's kind of the worst of both worlds, where they're still not getting a lot of shots 5-on-5, and they also don't have ozone time. But at least to me, that's a more straightforward thing where I'm like, oh, okay, they don't have a lot of shots because they don't have a lot of ozone time. I think it's a total mind-boggling thing when you have a bunch of zone time, but you can't get any shots on goal. Like, that's more frustrating to me. And I think you can point to the injuries recently where maybe that is why, they're not able. I mean, they've had a few games. The whole stretch the last like 2 to 3 weeks has been really, really strange. I mean, they'll have a great win against Winnipeg in a total revenge game from last year. Not to say they beat them by a lot. It was obviously a 1-0 game. They beat Utah 1-0. They beat Montreal. Like, they beat Ottawa twice, and then you turn around and you get boat raced by the Lightning, who are a really good team. You've dropped multiple in there that I'm just kind of blanking on. I mean, yeah, you lost to Nashville twice.
Yeah,
you lost to Nashville twice. And that's the worst team in the NHL. I will say, though, the Nashville Predators are getting a little bit hot.
Yeah.
They beat Minnesota last night in overtime. They beaten Colorado in the last week as well. So, teams get hot and they play well in certain stretches. I fully acknowledge that. Just because they're lower in the standings doesn't mean you can't pay attention to their current play. Yeah. So I think Nashville isn't as bad of a loss, but you can't lose to that team 3 times.
No.
And they play them on the 27th. So they certainly need to win that game to right the ship. But I kind of lost my train of thought. But the whole team has been so volatile the last 3 weeks, where there's really no rhyme or reason as to who they're beating and who they're losing to. And I don't have any answers. I don't.
Quick side note there about Nashville, and yeah, this team just really has tried. And by the way, they did really well against Nashville last year. I think they may have went. I know they at least won 3 times out of the 4.
I don't think they lost to them last year.
I don't think so either. Yeah. It was them in Colorado that they did really well against, even though they had 1 loss to Colorado. But by the way, who's a leading point scorer on the Nashville Predators, Nick?
Don't know. I just looked. I didn't mean to do that, but it's O'Reilly. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
32 points from him.
He's got 21 assists and 11 goals. He'd be a leading goal scorer. Would he be of the leading assist man too?
Oh, good question. I think so. Yeah, because Thomas. I think Thomas. He has 27 points, but I know he has like 8 goals, I think. So
he has 18 assists. So
18.
Yes, O'Reilly would be the leading goal getter and assist man as well. So that's really embarrassing, honestly. I think that's a horrible stat, and the Blues should be ashamed of that, honestly. Just on an offensive level, it's just disgusting how badly they've been and how the best players are not playing well enough to, not even close to playing well enough. And you still have O'Reilly kicking it and acting like he's been really bad, but literally would be the best player on the St. Louis Blues right now.
It's crazy. And I think this points to our last one of the naughty and nice list here. And that is the management with Doug Armstrong, Steen, everybody. And you can point to for something like that, the O'Reilly trade and the Pietrangelo. Like, I'm going all the way back here. But in terms of this season, with the signings that they had, we're talking the Bolduc trade for Mayu. We're talking about the signing for Suter. We're talking about all those Bukestad as well, letting go of Faxa, all of those things, and how they built this team this year. And I think you're also on the naughty list this year. It's unfortunate. This team was built, and I think this team still has some capabilities of being a really good hockey team like they were last year, but it's very different. We talked about this last week, that there is a glaring difference between last year's, uh, struggles in the early parts of the season, and now where the struggles have been consistent and the team just doesn't have that life that they did last year, and the energy levels, I would say. I think I've said that 3 times, but just the energy doesn't seem like it's what it was last year at all. And it obviously points to the way that Doug Armstrong and Steen, probably mainly more Armstrong, has built this team. It just and as you said on your Twitter last week, Nick, you're putting band-aids on bullet holes right now with the signings of Fabry, the trade or the claiming Berggren off waivers. Like, great. I think Berggren probably is going to work out nicely. It's looking like it right now. But by the way, he's probably on our nice list, Berggren, because there's just not much of a sample size. 4 games.
Yeah.
So we'll give it to him there. But then a guy like Fabry, you brought in too for all these injuries. So it's definitely on the nice list or naughty list for me, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much go back. Armstrong probably would have acted differently this offseason if Dylan Holloway and Philip Broberg didn't play as well as they did last year, and the Blues making the playoffs certainly changed some conversations around what the team is capable of and what their current status looks like and what it can be in the future. And can they build off the core that they have? And if not, then who are you going to trade away? He obviously took it as we need to build off of this core. We saw what happened last year. We need to make trades to help facilitate, what happened last year and how to help these players out, like Robert Thomas, like Jordan Kyrou, like Buchnevich, like Broberg, Parayko, Fowler now. So that hasn't worked yet. We're 38 games in, and injuries, that's not something you can blame Doug Armstrong for. The problem with the injury thing is it's not like the Blues were playing well before everyone started getting hurt.
Yes.
So I think it's very tough to point fingers at it. Right now, it does seem like the longer we do go with these guys hurt, the less of a shot we're going to get and actually trying to climb out of this hole with the personnel that we have currently. So we really do need to get those guys back. And I'm sure Doug Armstrong is, on his knees praying that these people do come back in a reasonable amount of time and we can just kind of hold on. But I would say he's probably naughty just given everything that he's done. It's not for a lack of, there have been a lot of moves made. Like there really have. If you go back 3 years until now, like there have been a ton of trades, a ton of signings, like all these last minute roster additions. So, I would say probably lean naughty, but I do think what he thought was going to happen this year and what most of us thought was going to happen this year has not transpired nearly to the point that we thought it would. And I think, unfortunately, we may have caught a little bit of the fool's gold and held on to it, like, with the 12-game win streak and thinking maybe it meant a little bit more than maybe what it did. So, and I think that's kind of proving itself currently and where the Blues stand and how everyone's performed so far.
I'm starting to think that last year's run was a fluke. I really am. It's not that hard to really put into words. Just to see the performance that's on the ice every single night, and the basically the same roster that is out there, excluding a few guys, but very minute differences, I would say. And instead of Ryan Suter, you have Logan Mailloux. Instead of Pius Suter, you have Zach Bolduc. Instead of Faxa, you have Bukestad. So these are very, I know it seems like these are very different players, which they are, but at the same time, like it's not like that we just left these players and didn't replace them. These are the ones who were on the team last year. It's all the same.
Yeah. I think our situation, it's not exactly the same just because of the signings that they made, but we were just talking about them. But the Predators, the Predators had that year a couple years ago where they just went on an absolute heater, and they ended up making the playoffs. They ended up losing in that first round, but I think they made it pretty close, or at least it was the game to game was competitive or whatever. I think that's how it went. And then they turned around last year and they were literally the worst team in the NHL.
Yep.
That does feel like the Blues right now, where man, oh man, was it exciting last year, caught lightning in a bottle, or at least, that's kind of what we're evaluating now, is if that happened or not. And they look at themselves this year and they play as poorly as they have been so far, and you don't really want to repeat the Nashville experiment. They're still not a good team, and I know they've gotten hot recently, but you don't want to be a part of that type of company, and that's the worry I feel like of Blues fans. It reminds me just eerily of what Nashville did the last 2 years.
Yeah. No, it's so true. Yeah, I think ultimately though, the thing that really peaks, I would say, comes on the top of the naughty list, and with the naughty list is probably the performance of the Blues in overtime. It has been the Achilles heel. And like you can point to so many things that are the flaws within this team, but if you would have had four, even half of the overtimes at one or shootouts, you would be in a playoff spot right now. We'd be in it. And it's just absolutely insane. We're at 36 points right now. LA is at 39, and Utah is also at 39. They're both in the first and second wild card. We would be a point above them. Now there are some games in hand there with LA, but Utah has played one more game than us. So it's pretty insane to think about. And during this stretch here since we last talked, there was another overtime loss, and it was to the Rangers. We were there, and it sucked. It absolutely sucked. And the issue with it too is that they not only lose in these things, but they don't really generate much at all. And you would think that an overtime would probably do well for this team, considering all the young talent and the young skill, with guys like Dvorsky and even Thomas out there. But it doesn't work every time, because the one thing that has started to plague this team it was the goaltending, then it was the defense, and now we're stuck in this lull where you can't score. So these 1-0 games, which has happened twice this year, Joel Hofer shuts them out. Perfect. But then it's one goal against the New York Rangers, who are not a very good hockey team. And they were, by the way, we said this during the game when we were up there in the alumni box talking to a few former Blues, including Reed Lowe, who said this team at least this game was atrocious to watch. That Rangers game, like, I don't think I've been to a worse Blues game in a very long time, other than just some really bad losses that we've had. But it wasn't entertaining. And obviously the loss in overtime was the epitome.
Yeah, it was really hard to get into that one. And yeah, I think you said it best. They actually just don't generate a lot of good chances in overtime. I think just because they're so deathly afraid of having the puck go the other way. And regardless, like, it always ends up going the other way, and they always end up giving a goal. So honestly, like, why not try something different? Maybe they are, maybe they're not. I don't know. I don't know how to really answer that one. Like, they were pretty successful, at least, seemingly in overtime last year. And they've had zero of that this year. And, with the new year and post Christmas, maybe there's a change of mentality and behavior when it comes to overtime, but they're going to need to win a few of these games. They can't just, they left, 8 points on the table.
Yeah.
They're alone. And it's not to say like that's a very good excuse. Like, they still have the worst goal differential in the entire NHL, like, again, by like a really, really wide margin.
Yeah.
So they would be very lucky to find themselves in a wild card spot right now. But it just kind of shows you, like, no matter how badly some of these games can go, it is game to game. And if you have the ability to scratch out a point and God willing too, you'll be in a better spot because of it, no matter what happened last night or the night before. And they just haven't been able to do it, which sucks because they could be in a better spot.
Yeah. And I know that the Christmas season is a time of hope, and Christ has born, but I mean, dude, 30th in goals for and last in goals against. There's just not a lot to be excited about with this team. Like,
Yeah.
I know that we should be hopeful, but I just struggle to do so, man. And it's been the same way the whole season. It's not like that anything has vastly improved. If anything, things are really just declining very subtly. Like, I just can't think of many examples where there's been improvement other than one person with Joel Hofer. That's it. Like, that has been the one thing that since the beginning of the season has gotten better. I just can't think of anything else. And there's the last place in goals thing has been a thing since 2 weeks into the season. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
There's not much to be very excited about. That win against Florida was very exciting.
That was exciting. That
But
was.
outside of that, like, you want them to build upon it, and
They can't.
they kind of revert back to their normal selves and get boat raced by the Lightning. So Lightning are very good. I didn't really expect them to win that game, but you got to start winning some games that you don't expect to win, and win games that you do. And that doesn't really seem obvious which ones those are right now and the ones they are expected to win, because they are statistically one of the worst teams in the NHL. So them losing to bad teams in the NHL makes sense.
Yeah,
So
no, it does.
it's tough. Yeah.
So, because when you said this in the last episode, Nick, you had all of these remaining games from Nashville on where these were non-playoff teams. Talking about Nashville, obviously, Winnipeg, who is not in a playoff spot right now, and actually below the Blues currently, even though we only won 1-0 against them. And then New York, not in a playoff spot. Florida, I don't even think is in one right now.
They're
they?
not.
Yeah.
No.
So Florida, and then Tampa. That was the only one that was in the playoff. And then even moving forward, Nashville again. And you got to find a way to win one of these games, I'd say. And then Buffalo, by the way, who is very much trailing on the up. That's our next one after Nashville. But it is absolutely crazy just to think about all of that, and that we just kind of let this really huge moment in the schedule just slip away. You got 2 wins out of it with Winnipeg and Florida. And obviously we'll take the 2 for sure. But and I wouldn't even say Winnipeg, it was like barely a win. They played well, but it was barely a win. And Joel Hofer was a huge part of that. And then obviously Florida was probably the best game, as we said, they played the entire season, which it took until December 20th for them to play a complete game, I would say.
Yeah. They're going to have to figure out a way to win 3 games in a row. I mean, that's my New Year's wish. They won't be able to win 3 games in a row until New Year's Eve. What a great way to welcome in the new year.
Yeah.
And they play Colorado at Colorado. So I don't know. They need to beat Nashville and they need to beat Buffalo at home. Like, those are games that you literally have to have after Christmas. And then the one that you can literally ask for Christmas is against Colorado at Colorado.
Yeah.
So
I'd ask for that.
I don't know if it's probably not going to happen, but they got to start on the 27th in a better spot and beat Nashville and then beat Buffalo. Those are 2 of the bottom teams in the NHL. They're gifting it. They're gifting this to you. Like, just take the 4 points and run with it and then continue on.
Yeah. No, so true. So true. So I guess in closing that we would say the person who's running Santa's workshop right now is Justin Faulk for this Blues team. And then the person at the rock bottom of the naughty list, we're not going to give it to one person. We're just going to give it to the Blues in overtime, which stands for pretty much the whole team. So that's like kind of our little Christmas theme recap of the last 38 games that they've played. And I just think that at the end of the day, Nick, this is really an identity crisis. And how can you solve it? Because you have over half of the season left. Let's remember, there's a lot of time to turn these things around. And we wish we could be hopeful, but it's just not looking like that at all. But there are some redeeming things. Obviously, we talked about Hofer. We talked about how Thomas is doing well at the moment. They're 13th in faceoffs with like just above 50%. But there's just not much to be excited about at the end of the day. And so I think moving forward, and if this is our last one before the new year, then I think we can say it. So what's our New Year's resolution for the Blues this year? And I don't want it to be something like the playoffs, Nick. I'm talking about what's a important improvement that this team should make post January 1st into 2026.
There's so many things that you could improve on. I mean, it just goes back. They're not doing anything actually well.
Yeah.
So there are literally you could point to actually anything that you'd want for them to improve upon. Um, yeah, I mean, one kind of low hanging one, and it's plagued them this year. It plagues every team. Stay healthy.
Yeah.
Just stay healthy. And I know that's easier said than done, but if they continue this injury stretch, they are going to get so much worse. Things are going to get uglier somehow than they already are. They have to stay healthy. That's my Christmas wish for them moving forward. And I know that's not something that's really in their control, but that's my wish
Yeah.
and
I
our
would
New
yeah.
Year's resolution for them.
I would go a little bit of a different way. I would say that my resolution is for Doug Armstrong and the management to come up with a basically, this is this team's identity. This is what our plan is going forward, and let's execute on it. If this means after January that you start to trade some guys, like a guy like Falk, for example, if things continue to really go bad, that guy's at the top of his value right now. He just is. And a lot of really good playoff teams that are contenders are going to want a guy like him. And I'm not saying blow it all up, but I'm saying commit to something. Because right now we're in this gray area where they still have this hope that this team is going to be good, but also at the same time, they have this slight thing where it's like, oh, well, we're actually not that good. And the team every night shows it. So we're right now in this little gray area, and I just hope that we can get out of it and just commit to something. That's what I would want as my resolution.
It's going to be difficult for them to trade players, and I know they can do it. They've done it in the past, but all these dudes, Falk included, dictate exactly where they want to go.
Yeah.
And unless Falk or whoever player down the road, if the Blues continue to play badly and Armstrong seeking out other teams, they have to waive this no trade or no movement clause and let everything go into motion. So I'm all for that. Obviously, I've been for that, since the beginning of the year when they really started to tank. But I don't know. Like it's such a tough road to navigate for him, and when trying to get teams and players receptive to these trades, it is very difficult when all of them have these clauses and put in place.
No, it is. Yeah. And I would say it also comes with maybe Doug Armstrong saying in this resolution, say, okay, if you don't want us to blow it up, if you guys think that you have a playoff contention race ahead of you, okay, now start to step up. The guys who are currently on the ice every given night that are given the most ice time. I'm talking Thomas. I'm talking Buchnevich. I'm talking Halle when he returns. Kyrou, even when he returns. And a guy like Parayko. These guys are going to need to do so much in the second half of the season for this team for them to even come close to the playoffs and come close to a level that a bunch of these playoff teams are on. So that's probably my part two of that, I would say. And it just needs to happen. But if players don't believe in this, then let's start making plans for a better future here. Because Blues fans are still showing up every given night. I mean, we were at that game in New York, or at that New York game where it was packed. Same thing with the Jets game. It was packed. So it's not like that fans are losing their mojo here, but it's just I feel like it's only a matter of time where people start to kind of give up on this.
That is what happened last year. Like, believe it or not, I mean, this was the same conversation.
I wish
It's not like it was that much different. The Blues were still outside of the wild card. It was time to either buy in or sell, and they decided to actually not do anything. So it was the same the year before. It was the same year before that. Like,
yeah.
so they've been in this position very frequently. So we'll have to see where the chips fall, but they typically are not going to make a move until maybe right before like the Olympics or after potentially. But we'll see.
Yeah, if things go the way that they're going now and into January, I very much look forward to our coverage of the Olympics.
Yeah.
That's how I think our head is at this point. But I hope it very much improves because we'd all be happier if they
Yeah.
did. That wraps it up, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in to this Christmas Eve little episode, holiday themed, of our naughty and nice list and everything else behind it. We hope you have a wonderful Christmas holiday, whatever you celebrate, and into the new year. And we'll be catching you after some Blues games after the break. So have a wonderful Christmas, and we will see you soon.
See you guys.